Hello, and welcome to Totally Schway, Flip Side. My name is Mary.
My name's Luke.
And welcome to the podcast that's about whatever the hell I want it to be about.
So what are we going to talk about today then, Mary?
One of my favorite modern day superhero movies. And that...
X-Men Apocalypse.
No.
Sorry, Bryan Singer.
You don't apologize to him.
No.
Man of Steel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So this was, I think, one of the first Zack Snyder movies I saw.
Well, I think you might have seen... he did a remake of... Was it Night of the Living... No, it wasn't Night of the Living Dead. He did a zombie movie that was set in a shopping mall with... I can't even remember who was in it. This is how much of a Zack Snyder fanboy I am. I can't remember what... Was it Dawn of the Dead?
Oh, yeah.
He did Dawn of the Dead.
With Polly. Something Polly. Sarah Polly? Something
Possibly.
like that. And they were in Crossroads Mall. Anybody in Oklahoma knows that Crossroads Mall doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, well, that's not the only big franchise chain that doesn't exist that also appears in a Zack Snyder movie.
I mean, it exists, but very, very little.
I think we've found a secret connection. Getting your franchise store to appear in a Zack Snyder movie is the quickest way to get it to die out, as we found out with Sears in this movie. That's the first point we're going to talk about. Superman and the Kryptonians killed Sears. Sears got destroyed, and that was it. It was a downfall for the rest of the company after that. They never recovered.
I don't think you saw it in the other ones.
No, you Googled it afterwards, didn't you? See, how many Sears stores are there? Apparently, there are only 7 in the US now.
No, 13, I think.
13 was it? Sorry, my mistake. Maybe they're doing better than I thought then.
Yeah.
13.
We take it all back.
How many did they used to have, though? That's the question.
Oh, God, probably too many to count for a peasant like me.
And the most important fact, though, is you looked and you were like, there are none in Oklahoma. Therefore, failure.
Even that's what the store locator said. So, I want to, and I don't do this, well, I don't think I've ever done this, where I've actually read out the main actors and actresses before we talk about it. And I want to do this because this is a very, very strong cast. Mm-hmm. And I wholeheartedly believe that these people made this movie into like the masterpiece that I think it is. Mm-hmm. So you have Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Diane Lane, Larry Fishburne, who I love, Kevin Costner, Russell Crowe, and Michael Shannon.
I really like all of these cast members.
I do too.
But Michael Shannon in particular has the deranged look of a crazy person in his eyes, and you can't fake that very easily.
No.
I'm sure he's like a wonderful, lovely person in real life, but he's an exceptional villain. He's just got this kind of wide-eyed, crazy stare that's... He could be looking right at someone, but it's almost like he's looking through them.
I know. Oh my gosh. We'll talk about Michael Shannon now then.
Yeah, let's start with Larry.
It's my podcast. I can talk about whatever the hell I want. So with Michael Shannon, I think the first time I saw him was in like the early 2000s in like a kangaroo movie about like them trying to kick the ass of a kangaroo or something.
Or in like a fist fight or...
Something like that. I don't remember much of it because I don't think it was a good movie. But then I got to know him a little bit more in Empire.
Okay.
I believe it was HBO show?
May very well have been.
I don't know.
I haven't watched Empire. I've kind of seen bits and pieces of it when you've been watching it, but it doesn't really interest me.
But oh my gosh, he played a completely different character, but...
Michael Shannon turned up as General Zod in Empire.
Could you imagine?
Where is the Matrix?
But it is so amazing that when I think of Michael Shannon, I think of the golden age of cinema, because he is one of those actors that could have done. He would have done a great Laurence Olivier. Like, you know, the type of acting that Lawrence did and everything. Like, amazing. Because the range, that's the thing I'm looking for. The range that he has is just... I can't I can't think of anyone else that could do what you said before we started seriously talking about him, is see through you. Mm-hmm. Like, look right through you.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily because he is actually deranged. He's an actor.
An actor.
An actor. I know I go on like a crazy tangent about Michael Shannon.
No,
but
it's not. I think it's perfectly relevant what you've said.
It's amazing because he stands out in a list of actors and actresses that have accolades, you know, as long as I am tall. And he's a standout. And I love that about him. Mm. Another person I love, small part, but big part in my heart. Mm-hmm. Larry Fishburne.
Yeah, so I've got a very interesting fact about Larry Fishburne. Mm-hmm. Well, not really about him, but it's about Perry White. So, mm-hmm. I mean, if you regularly listen to our podcasts or engage with any of my stuff, you'll see that there are people that are foaming at the mouth over the concept of race swapping characters, taking characters that were originally white in the comic books and having them be, say, Asian in the case of Harley Quinn in Batman Cape Crusader, mm-hmm. or Commissioner Gordon being African American in The Batman, the Matt Reeves movie.
Yeah.
Larry Fishburne plays Perry White. Perry White in the comic books is a white man, but nobody seemed to complain about this at the time, not as far as I can recall. And a really interesting fact about this is that when Bruce Timm and co. were developing Superman the Animated Series, he pitched to Warner Brothers that to diversify the cast, that they make Perry White African American. Now, DC refused. Mm-hmm. So basically he and Paul Dini and Alan Burnett, and all the others got together and created Angela Chen to be like their newscast character, to add some diversity mm-hmm. to the cast. But I just wanted to point out that, you know, there's a long history of characters, race and genders changing. I remember when this movie came out, the Jenny character was implied to be their version of Jimmy Olsen. Now they changed that for Batman vs Superman, okay, but at the time, I believe, I didn't check the credits, I think she was just credited as Jenny, but people were inferring that Jenny was their version of Jimmy Olsen. Mm-hmm. And we made
in trouble.
We made lots of jokes about Jenny, didn't we? Like,
yes.
God damn it, Jenny! You're the only one that got trapped in the rubble, and now Larry Fishburne and I've forgotten the actor's name.
One of our Lord and Saviors.
I forgot the name of the actor who plays Steve Lombard, but he was in House of Cards.
Oh yes, he's wonderful.
Now they've got to try and dig you out. Well done, Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny.
And now they're going to get killed by the gravitational shifting of the Kryptonian device. Nope, okay, Superman disabled that. They're saved. You're saved this time, Jenny. Oh, no, the army's going to nuke them instead. Well done, Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny. Let's talk about... I'm going to talk about Henry last in terms of this. Because I've got thoughts. All good ones, by the way. I'm going to spoil this. Amy Adams.
Yeah.
So Amy Adams, I believe, was more well known for a movie called Enchanted with, I think it had Patrick Dempsey in it as well. I might be mixing it up with the second one. I love her. I absolutely think she can play the sweetheart, but she can also kick ass too. She played a wonderful Lois Lane that, to me, was Lois Lane. Mm. You know, not only did she kick ass, she was like, oh, you're a man? Okay, I'm going to be the same level as you. Mm-hmm. And what? And it wasn't too obvious. You know how sometimes they make lady characters like, oh, you're a guy? Well, I'm a lady. I can do exactly what you want, or what you want me to do and what I want to do.
Really overplay the positive message.
Yeah, whereas Amy Adams' Lois Lane was written and acted in a way where you're just like, oh no, she's a strong character. Not that she's a strong lady character. Mm. She's a strong character.
Yeah.
And when she gets into these situations, I love Amy Adams' performance. I absolutely loved it. Thoughts?
I mean, I agree with you. She didn't have the look of what I would consider to be Lois Lane in my mind, but Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Excellent performance.
Yeah.
Very believable.
And that's the thing about, I'm going to mention this now. What we know these characters to be. Like, I knew Lois Lane as the purple-eyed...
Dana Delaney.
Yeah, Dana Delaney, who, by the way, is a redheaded lady, if I'm not mistaken, in real life.
Like Amy Adams.
Yeah. I knew that as, you know, the raven-haired or brunette-haired lavender-eyed lady, purple, lavender, whatever, that had the purple bag, which I will find a dupe for one day. But when Amy Adams, I didn't even think about that. I was like, that's my live action Lois. And I did not even think to say, oh my God, how dare they swap a raven-haired person for somebody that has red hair.
Where's the justice for us brunettes that are being replaced?
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
Ridiculous.
Such a strong choice there. Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner doing what Kevin Costner does best, which is play Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
I thought their version of John Kent was very... I was going to say interesting, but I used that word way too much.
You can say it.
I thought it was a good take.
Yeah.
So he is very much a... He's not really isolationist, but he is in favour of keeping Clark's abilities secret.
Yeah.
So that nobody knows who he is and what he can do. The irony is that everyone in Smallville knows who he is and what he can do, and they don't say anything about it because he saved all of their kids at one point.
That's right.
So they keep his secret.
You can say it. It's interesting.
Yeah, but I thought it was profoundly moving, his death scene in the tornado. Now, okay, it's not like they didn't film in the middle of a real tornado. It's,
no, of course not.
They take artistic license with it. But the fact that he breaks his ankle and can't escape, and Clark could very easily run over there, grab him and run him back, get him to safety and save his life. But he holds his hand out, doesn't even say a word, just looks at him and goes, no. He sacrificed his life for his son. And it was such a waste, completely wasteful, but he believed wholeheartedly in his son hiding himself and not being discovered because he knew that the world would reject him.
He wasn't ready. And that's
the world wasn't ready for him.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that was a good lesson and a very tough lesson. But the way Kevin Costner put that hand up and it is so weird because you know they're filming on green screen. You know they are. But it's just that in that moment, you forget things like that. If you're like a big movie buff and you know all the cinema magic and all of that, you forget that because of when he puts that hand out, he's just that connection that he has with the camera, which just it was beautiful and it was sweet.
And the thing that Clark learns from this is, okay, if he's going to be out there in the world, changing the world as his father said he would, he can't do it as Clark Kent. He has to present himself as something else, and it's very fortunate then that he discovers the Kryptonian ship with the costume in it, because otherwise what else is he going to do?
Yeah. Okay, Russell Crowe.
So I want to share an interesting fact about Russell Crowe. I remember watching an interview with him decades ago where he said, when I started out as an actor, I can't even do a good voice like that. I'm sorry.
Do accents.
I'll just do my accent.
I mean, I can totally do
enough.
accents if Warner Brothers is listening.
Yeah. He says, when I started out as an actor, I just wanted to be Marlon Brando. And he even wrote a song and performed it with his band called I Wanna Be Marlon Brando. And he is Marlon Brando in this movie, because Marlon Brando played Jor-El in the original Superman movies, and I think that's maybe the only reason he took this role. But I thought it was very good. I enjoyed the opening of showing the background of Krypton and how allegorical it was. So their world is very much like almost like an insect-like hive planet. Like their structures looked like biological, insect hives, basically. Yeah. And they had those flying bug creatures that Russell Crowe was riding around on as well. But it's kind of allegorical for our world because Krypton is not destroyed by a natural disaster. Krypton is destroyed by the Kryptonians' greed and the over-mining of resources, stripping the planet bare and causing it to collapse in on itself. And I feel like that message is sometimes lost on people.
Yeah, definitely.
Particularly people that identify as, Snyder bros. They almost seem to gloss over that fact while they're criticizing people like, what's her name, Greta Thunberg. Sorry, I've forgotten her name. The environmental activist.
Who we love. Who I love.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against her. I think she makes some very good points. Yeah. And she can be very, people say mean things about her and she claps back. So
yeah, and I love
more power
a
to
clap back. That's a meaningful clap back.
But, Russell Crowe, obviously, his character dies in the first 20 minutes, obviously, because everyone dies on Krypton apart from General Zod and his cronies.
Yeah.
And then when we see him throughout the rest of the film, he is like a hologram of himself that contains his consciousness as well.
But here's the thing with that performance, you can tell the difference. And this is so cool. I mean, this is so cool that people like Russell Crowe could do this, because not everybody could, because they would just do Jor-El and just Jor-El, not Jor-El the hologram. Because you can tell a clear difference from Jor-El and Jor-El the hologram.
Yes, yeah, the hologram might use emotive words, but the body language and the delivery is much flatter. And obviously it's intentionally so,
and
because
that's down
it's
to
artificial.
Russell.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, Mr. Crow.
So like when he has his conversation with Zod, he stands very close to him and he's kind of looking at him, but says, "Don't do this, Zod." Whereas when you come back to, when you look back, at the earlier part of the movie when Zod comes in and tries to take over the council and kills one of the councillors, Jor-El marches towards him, fury in his eyes, going, "This is madness, Zod! What are you doing?"
Yeah.
There's none of that anger. There's none of that.
Yeah. It is, again, outstanding that we have actors that can do this. And by the way, I didn't actually say how much I loved Larry Fishburne, did I? I'm sorry, I'm going back.
You did say you love Larry Fishburne.
I have a love for Larry Fishburne that goes back to the first time I saw Othello. And, oh, Lord. Lord.
I just remember seeing Larry Fishburne as a teenager when he was a teenager, I should say, in Apocalypse Now. And he was very different back then. He was not as eloquent.
Marlon Brando's whack.
Yeah, he called Marlon Brando a whack mother effer.
I don't know why I say Marlon, like when I'm talking about Marlon Brando. By the way, I have his name tattooed on me. I don't know if I've ever said that, but I say Marlon Brando. And I say it like that when I'm just talking, and it should be Marlon Brando.
I don't know a huge amount about Larry Fishburne, but I feel like after he was in Apocalypse Now, perhaps he had just like a really nice summer of like reading Shakespeare and stuff and going, "Oh, there's more to this life than what I've seen before."
Yeah.
Because he presents himself as like a very eloquent and what's the word I'm looking for? Yes, that's right. And then you compare that with teenage Larry Fishburne, who's like sitting there snarling at everything, going, "Those mother effers."
Isn't that with a lot of us, though?
That's true.
I would never characterize myself as demure.
Thinking back to teenage me, sitting there necking pints of Strongbow, going, "F this, F that."
Yeah. I don't want to remember my teenage years. So yeah, that's
Anyway.
Russell Crowe and Larry Fishburne. And then one of my favorite actresses, Diane Lane. They made her look so much older than she is in spirit and in age. And oh my God, did she cling to this role and just perform the hell out of it. She is Martha Kent.
Yeah.
She is 100% Martha Kent. And that, I mean, out of all of the renditions of Martha we've had, I think she is one of the best ones.
Yeah. I like the scene where it was young Clark Kent at school freaking out because his powers were activating.
Oh, yeah.
And he locks himself in a broom closet and he's like, "Oh, the world's too big." And she says, "Then make it smaller."
Yeah.
I like that. Because, I mean, as large and expansive as the world actually is, the world is actually very, very small. There's not a huge difference in the human experience, regardless of where you are across the globe, you know. We're all people just trying to get through life and have some sort of measure of happiness. we really shouldn't be focusing so much on the differences. We should really look at the similarities, because we're never all going to be exactly the same. And, the world would be a very boring place if everybody liked all exactly the same stuff.
Martha Kent, not just Superman's mother, great teacher.
Yeah.
But the way that she performed this and made it feel like I was watching the animated series made me, it gives me an emotional connection with it, because I'm like, I want Martha Kent to be part of my family. Man, teach me that the world's gonna be smaller. But yeah, I could just fangirl over Diane Lane, but she did a great Martha Kent, and I cannot fault that at all. Now we get to the star of the show, among the stars of the show,
Christopher Maloney.
Oh my god, I forgot. Stabler.
We're talking about Henry Cavill.
Yeah. Henry Cavill. Now, I know a lot of people out there really love Henry Cavill for like his looks and everything like that. But I love Henry Cavill because he is one of my favorite Supermans. And the reason being is he perfectly got the Midwestern boy down. It made me feel, when I watched this movie for the first time, I had no idea that Henry Cavill was English and la-di-da-di-da, but I felt like that person was from where I was from.
Someone you might have known.
Yeah. And I've seen other Henry Cavill movies, and it's so different. And that made me feel great, because I've loved Superman for a very long time. I love the idea of Superman and everything like that. And to see a modern day live version and it feel the way that it did, you have to give him a lot of credit for that, because he didn't overdo it, and he also didn't fade with fade in the background with all of these people in the movie, with all of these stars that are in this movie. I'm pointing to my notes here. And also, it was just nice to see a good actor. When you looked him up on IMDb, I was talking to Luke about this earlier. When I first looked to see, because I was like, oh, what state is Henry Cavill from? And then I saw, oh my god, he's from Jersey. I was like, oh, New Jersey? By the way, I live in England, by the way. So I was like, oh yeah. And then it said the full name. And I was like, oh wow. And then I was waiting on the Wikipedia. Do you know what it says? Controversies? Say the word, I can't say it.
Controversies.
Yeah. I was waiting to see that. Didn't see it. Looked on the IMDb thing. I was like, didn't see it. Looked on the internet. I was like, you know what? It's good to see. Not an actor without a lot of controversies that's playing a good superhero.
Yeah.
Because at the time we had Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, although he has made up for the things that he's done in his past.
Yeah.
First thing that people around our age would know about Robert Downey Jr. went to jail.
Yeah.
Bad boy. So it was really nice to see. And I know that's something that's a bit silly to talk about, but
No, it's not at all.
I also have to talk about Kal, the dog.
Oh, Henry Cavill's dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love that dog, and never met the dog. I never will meet the dog, because I'm not a stalker or anything. But I love the fact that you can tell Henry Cavill is a fan. And not just of Superman. You can tell he's a fan of the things that he does. Just like Diane Lane and Larry Fishburne and Russell Crowe. All of these people come together and make, again, what I see as a masterpiece. I don't think if one of these people were nixed from this, it would have been the same movie. Obviously, it would have been the same movie, but in my heart, the emotional connection I have with it, it wouldn't have been the same. Now,
before we move on, can I just talk about a little character observations I wanted to make? So I forgot to mention this during our talk about Larry Fishburne. We keep coming back to him.
Yeah.
But one of the things I really like about this version of Perry White is that okay? Yes, he is the suit representing the publisher, right? He's the guy in the full suit with his braces and his tie, etc. But you can see he's got a little bit of an edge because he's got a pierced ear.
Oh yeah,
and he's got an earring in. That lets you know that okay, he's the representatives of the suit, but he was one of the guys back in the day, and he still is to a certain extent. And the other thing I wanted to note is that the Richard Donner Superman movies really played up like the references to Christianity in Superman. You could view Superman as being like an allegory for Jesus because he's the son of God, and that made Marlon Brando God, by the way.
Oh really?
Yeah, and there are obviously parallels with the what was it? Moses. That was it. Was it Moses? Was it one of the biblical characters who was put in the basket that floated down the river in Egypt and was adopted by the Pharaoh? I forget which one it was. I believe it was Moses. That's kind of similar as well to placing baby Kal-El into the rocket and sending him off to a different location.
Yeah.
Except he was adopted by farmers.
Yeah. The best farmers, by the way.
But in Man of Steel, they continue this allegory, particularly that scene where after Zod has announced their presence to the world, saying, Kal-El needs to surrender himself to us within 24 hours. And Clark goes to a priest, and he's sitting there in the church asking whether he should turn himself in. And in the background of all of those shots are stained glass windows of Jesus Christ. And there's a very clear parallel to, God, I can't remember what the garden was called. It was like the Garden of Gethsemane, something like that.
I don't
Apologies.
know.
My family were very religious, but I've not been to church in 20 years, something like that. And I'm not at all religious myself, but I've got a background knowledge of all that stuff I used to talk about. No, well, just because I would be dragged to church every week for the first sort of 15 years of my life.
There's the reason I say because you're English is because over here they do talk about religion in school.
Yeah, that's true. They do, and I did actually go to a church school as well.
But
the point I'm making is it's a very clear parallel to the story of Christ, where the night before the Romans came and crucified him, he was in the garden having doubts about whether he should turn himself over or not, and obviously decided to do so, much like Superman decided to do so. And I liked that when he turned up, he allowed them to put handcuffs on him to make them feel safer.
That was cute.
Even though it did absolutely nothing to him. It didn't bother him in the slightest. He escaped. He didn't even try to escape. He stood up, moved his hands, and he broke the cuffs. And he could see through their two-way mirror. And he was looking directly at them and talking to Professor Hamilton about what was in his pocket. Showing his immense power over all of them. And you can see like the worry on their faces. Like, oh God, we're trapped in here with him.
yeah, I like that this wasn't, although I do love a goofy Superman, there are moments in the animated series where he can be quite like goofy and funny and all of that. I like the fact that it wasn't all serious. There are comedic things in this movie if you missed them. Like one of them is the 106 days of no accidents. But I loved that this movie made Superman human. Superman, who is an alien from a completely different galaxy, probably.
Well, yes.
Human.
Yeah, I mean, the Superman story itself is very pro-immigration. You could even argue that it is pro-illegal immigration because Superman didn't apply to come
He
live
didn't
here.
have a passport.
He didn't get a green card. He was smuggled in, and he was accepted by the community and integrated into it.
Yeah. Let's speak about that community. You did briefly
I
mention
mentioned on it, yes. So
Smallville knows who Superman is in this movie.
I mean, lots of the not like it's like a secret for every single person that lives in Smallville, but a lot of them do know, and they say nothing.
Yeah, they don't care, other than the fact that he saved somebody that they know at one point in time, if not themselves.
Yeah, they all knew that Clark Kent was a strange boy that could do strange things, but he had done things to help all of them.
Yeah, and he didn't do it to get known, and it was kind of like a thing, like, please don't tell, and they're like, nah, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there is also probably an element of fear, like, oh, what would he do to us if we did tell?
Yeah, probably.
And it kind of makes Jonathan Kent's sacrifice a little bit sad, actually, because he's trying to keep a secret that everybody knows. But really, it was less about keeping the secret and more about instilling in Clark that he should not expose himself. If he's going to go out there, do it as someone else.
Yeah. Aliens?
Like the Kryptonians.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to Krypton a little bit. So I want a world like this. As in, like, the way that it looks and everything.
Just the aesthetic, not the whole, like, designing
That's
people.
Right. That's right. Nobody needs to design me. I will mess it up all by myself. What I like about it is it's very purposeful. Where sometimes, I mean, I love architecture. I absolutely do. It's beautiful. It takes a hell of a lot of work to do and to get even just a small building up. But on Krypton, you don't see, large buildings that are just pretty.
No,
they're mounds and everything, and they're purposeful, and there's a reason for them. And
well, yeah, that's just reflective of Krypton society, isn't it? Because as we mentioned earlier, the people are designed to fulfill a role, and a person is only born if they are needed to do it. And it's very much, I mean, I view it as being critical of like hyper capitalism, where you've only got to do something to make money. Your sole purpose is to do this thing, to create this product that you can then sell on to someone else, and that person only exists so that they can make this product that you are going to sell, and you've got to control them, and don't allow them to be individuals. They've got to be worker drones.
I don't agree with that.
What, with my assessment or that statement?
That just like people having to be born for a purpose.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm not saying that. I know like that's part of Krypton, but I don't want the world to be like that.
No,
I just like the fact that everything was, the buildings themselves, everything, it seemed like there was purpose for it rather than materialism and all of this. It's got to be pretty in order for people to actually be able to do that. And Hokor, is that how you say the name? Oh, Horaka?
Baraka from Mortal Kombat.
No,
it was that flying creature that Jor-El was riding on. And there is something nice to be seen about that surface level balance between the natural world and the artificial. But they've destroyed the planet because it might look like that on the surface, but really they are like gouging everything out of the planet and
I don't like that part of it.
No.
I just like the purpose.
No, you just like, I get what you're saying.
I don't like bugs.
Yeah.
But I know that they work and do things a hell of a lot better than we do sometimes.
Yes. And I mean, I liked Jor-El's message as well, where his son Kal-El was the first natural birth in centuries, and he wasn't designed for anything. It's just, you just chuck your genetic material together and see what comes out. And it's up to him to decide what he wants to be. He doesn't have to fulfill a specific role. He doesn't have to just be a warrior. He could be an artist if he wanted to be. He could be anything.
Journalist?
He could be a journalist. Yes, he could. He could work on a tugboat catching fish. He could work on an oil rig. He could work in a bar. He could become, as you said, a journalist.
Yeah, he could. If he wanted
it's
to.
all about the possibilities and the freedom to choose what you want to be.
Oh, and you could also say he could be a little bit of all of those at certain points.
He could absolutely be.
I think people get what we're saying.
Yeah, whereas Zod, his whole purpose was defend Krypton. When Krypton was gone, he no longer had purpose. And I think that's part of why he had that breakdown of like, well, okay, I've got to bring Krypton back.
He had a minty bee, didn't he?
Yes, he absolutely did. And we were talking about this when we were watching the movie. Like, why didn't they just put the what's the word where they change the planet into a different habitat? I've forgotten the term
terraforming thing.
Terraforming, that's it. Thank you. Why didn't they terraform Mars? Because then they wouldn't have to kill anyone, and they would just turn Mars into Krypton.
Because there would be no storyline.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? There'd be nothing to object to.
So, with the whole Zod thing is Krypton did all of this thing where people were only born for a purpose and this, and this. But then you have to also think, with all of that, you still get people like Zod, who are, in some ways, you can look at it and say evil. But in other ways, you can just say a bit too attached to something.
Yes, I mean, he has his whole purpose, and when his purpose is taken away from him, he kind of reframes his purpose. So he's no longer about protecting Krypton, but he's about bringing Krypton back, extending its legacy. The irony, of course, is that Superman is Krypton's legacy, and he's trying to kill Superman. And when Zod loses everything, when the Kryptonians are sucked into the void, and he's left on his own, and there's no possibility of restoring Krypton, he just goes into a meltdown and just like, I'm going to destroy everything. I'm going to kill every single person on this planet. I'm going to take away everything from you that you took away from me.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's, okay, yes, he is lamenting the loss of, generating new Kryptonians. Yes, of course he is. But at the same time, he no longer has a purpose. This is this thing that he has built his whole life around. It's his identity. And from his perspective, he's had it taken away from him. He doesn't know who he is anymore, so he just lashes out.
I think that's a good segue to my next... I only have 2 other things I would like to talk about that I've actually got written down, but this is a good segue into one of my notes saying, no Brainiac.
Oh, yes. Do you know what's funny, actually? I thought a lot of the Kryptonian ships, they had kind of insect designs, but they kind of look like skulls.
Yeah.
Which Brainiac, in the comics, flew around in a skull ship. And I was looking at those black skull ships and thinking... You know what, that could have been Brainiac. And it's worth mentioning that in the comic books, Brainiac has got no connection to Krypton. But it was Paul Dini and Alan Burnett and Bruce Timm and everyone else that worked on that show. Yeah. I don't know who actually came up with the idea of Brainiac being the central computer of Krypton that was inadvertently responsible for its destruction. But that was something that was brought up in the animated series. And My Adventures with Superman has kind of taken that idea and twisted it a little bit. Do you intend to watch My Adventures with Superman?
Eventually, just with the long list of other things I've had.
So do you mind if I spoil it slightly a little bit? Or do you want me to just not mention it?
Don't mention it. Okay,
I'm not going to mention it then. But anyone that has watched My Adventures with Superman knows about Brainiac's role. And I thought that was quite a... There are some promising storytelling opportunities there if Brainiac returns. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. The last thing that I have written down is hope. And I saved this one for last on purpose because I think ending with this one, we can talk a little bit about everything. And one of the many, many reasons I love this movie, and probably the main reason, is the message behind it. And I think the message behind Superman is hope. Not only do we get a hero, we get someone that instills that we can't do it if we continue to be bad people. Or when I say bad people, what I mean is we're not doing things right sometimes. And it's okay to say, no, I'm not doing this right. Whether that's with politics, with work, or with anything. Sometimes we're not good at things and we need a little help. In this universe, in this world, this fictional world, they have Superman, they have Batman, they have the people that can help them. And that's wonderful. But when you watch this as someone who lives on this planet in the quote unquote real world, you're like, well, why can't we have a Superman or a Batman or anything like that? And it makes me think, why can't we be those people? I mean, we don't have to have laser beams shooting out of our eyes, and we don't have to have cold breath, and we don't have to wear physical mask to go out into this world and do good things and just do the right thing, even if other people aren't doing the right things.
Well, yes.
And it gives me hope that other people can think that. You know, in characters like Lois Lane, who, yes, is kind of, I think a lot of versions of Lois Lane are kind of this, obviously headstrong woman that wears high heels that are probably more than my mortgage every month, and is just so just on it. And you have Larry Fishburne, his character Perry White, who is the person who employs Amy Adams, Lois Lane, and encourages this behavior. And it gives me hope that there are people like that will encourage the Lois Lanes of this world and the Clark Kents of this world to be great people. And Martha and Jonathan are great examples of this wasn't their child. This was a gift to them that they didn't know they were getting, an unintentional gift. And there are people in this world that get unintentional gifts, that, you know, kids that lose homes and lose parents and everything, that other family members or other friends of family, things fall into their laps. And kids end up being their kids, and they just raise them right. And that's what Martha and Jonathan did. And again, it gives me hope. Mm-hmm. Because I hope, oh, sorry I interrupted you, but I hope that those characters, some truth came from those characters. Because I think we all need to think a little bit like Martha and Jonathan. Not necessarily go out and farm in corn or something, because nobody knows this about me, but I love sweet corn. But I don't know how to grow it, so that's that. But hope, it's more than just hoping that you're going to win the lottery. We should hope for a better world, and Superman and all of the fellow superheroes like Perry White, Martha Kent, Jonathan Kent,
even Steve Lombard, who anyone that reads the comics knows that guy's a dickhead, but he stuck around to try and save Jenny as well.
These are the heroes that stuck around Superman. And there's hope in that.
Yeah, even the Colonel that Christopher Maloney played was like, this man is not our enemy.
Yeah. I know I'm going on and on about hope, but it's just something that's very important.
I think that originated in this film as well, actually, the S standing for hope. I could be mistaken.
I didn't even mention the S standing for hope. I'm just saying the whole thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? And that's one of the reasons why DC changed Superman's slogan from Truth, Justice in the American Way.
Yes, Truth, Justice in the American Way.
They changed it to Truth, Justice and a Better Tomorrow.
Love that.
Yeah, that's far more inclusive, much better. Because, you know, with my wife is an American, I work with a lot of Americans. I absorb a lot of American culture, but there is a lot of callousness in American culture. And there's certainly room for improvement there.
Excuse me?
I mean,
I'm joking.
You know,
yes, there's.
I mean, I just take one look at your healthcare system, and I'm like, you guys have got problems.
But things like this give me hope, and it's the reason I mentioned all of those actors and actresses in the beginning is because take away their characters and you put them in there. They gave me hope that there would be a sequel, and there was.
Yeah, and we got Batfleck. Hooray.
Hey, there's so many people.
I don't dislike Batfleck. Batfleck's fine. It's just, I feel like Zack Snyder kind of ignored all of the great stuff from Batman the Animated Series and just looked at the fight scenes from the Arkham games and went, yeah, Batman beats people up. Yeah.
Lens flare. I knew I was going to say it at least once. Yeah. But yeah, that's... Obviously, it's a bit of mumbling and all of that, but what did you expect from me? I mean,
there's also the fact that this movie is like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Now.
But I still love it.
Yeah, and it's an important film.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in seeing James Gunn's Superman movie.
But I will always and forever see Henry Cavill as my live-action Superman. And I know I'm not a gossip channel, and I never will be, but... I just really wanted him to continue on that journey, a few more films, but unfortunately, I guess things happen and people just wanted a new la-di-da.
Yeah, I mean, they needed to break ties with the Zack Snyder movies. Unfortunately, there's a lot of toxicity built up around the Zack Snyder films.
Henry, if you ever need somebody to talk to, you could speak to Mind.
Why not sign up to BetterHelp? No, we haven't signed up with BetterHelp.
No,
We haven't.
I say that, but he's holding his own, and obviously Diane Lane, Amy Adams, Larry Fishburne, all the other actors and everything, they'll hold their own, and we will continue to support them. And yeah, that was our rambly thing about Man of Steel.
Yeah, that was a complete sequence by sequence recounting of the events of the movie. You guys don't need to watch it now because we described it so perfectly.
No. Please go watch it. You can watch it on Max if you're in the States. You can buy it on Apple. You can...
on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.
If you're in the UK, pop into your local branch of CEX. I bet you'll find the DVD or the Blu-ray for about £1. Easy peasy.
But please... Also, if anybody could find a place where I can buy the, like, in the box, the Henry Cavill and the Ben Affleck Barbie/dolls of them, please tell me.
eBay.
Yeah, I've looked on eBay. Nobody wants to sell them. They're not in the box anyway. All right, so after all of that, shall we get to... Oh, by the way, it's so long. Who cares? Let's get to the comments.
Okay, let's kick things off then with the latest novel from Big Mikey P.
Woo!
Michael Andre Parlon.
I'm going to get these on my Kindle one day. I am. I'm going to... Big Mikey P, what we should do, you and I, we should just make a book of comments that we've put on things.
Yeah. The Musings of Michael Andre Parlon, Volume 27.
No, Volume 1.
Okay, so to read his comment for real this time. Now, this film I haven't watched, and I don't have the time and hype to actually want to watch it right now, or maybe even later. Still, we'll just partake on this podcast, and I have looked up enough things about the movie via the interwebs. Gained lots of money, sure, but the movie's fame may be fleeting as time goes by. Remember, as a similar aside, not all Oscar winners have stood the test of time, like American Beauty having become an old shame, while snubs like The Iron Giant have triumphed in hindsight. 5 minutes, 42 seconds. The problem isn't the binging. The problem is wading through the numerous POSs like X-Men, Dark Phoenix, She-Hulk and the Marvels. Those were not POS. How dare you, sir?
POS. Point of sale?
No. Piece of caca.
Piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, you were the PG.
I was trying to be, but that's all out the window now. I was going to do a proper swear then, and no, I won't. Same with the Star Wars Alt Universe. For every Clone Wars, Rogue One, Andor, Jedi Fallen Order, and Survivor has a Resistance, The Rise of the Skywalker, Kenobi, Battlefront 2, 2017. Any expanded universe can ultimately have its inherent value be hurt if and when there's a dud. The DCAU has the incomplete The Zeta Project, and especially besmirched if it's more than one. Halo has the 343 Interactive Reclaimer Saga. And pertaining to female-oriented works, it's sad that many works pandering to the idea these days just don't treat female characters as contemporarily believable people and not as anachronistic soapboxing caricatures.
Word.
Better to have more Ojo Manjos and Ellen Ripleys, not more Iden Vezios and the MCU Captain Marvels. Well, we actually quite like Captain Marvel in this household.
Yeah.
Both of them. Anyway, 1209. Sorry, don't know enough mainline, superline comics, particularly from the Marvel stuff, and more into standalones and the occasional tie-ins favourably from DC. Did not expect Cassandra Nova to be the villain of this film, was expecting a big leaguer like Doctor Doom. Not that hyped with the bloody TVA, they're dotard multiversal Guardian types, and I would like to see them be replaced by a more original, scarily effective organisation, perhaps one recently reinstated by the worrisome fallout of the events of Gravity Falls, Amphibia, The Owl House, Rick and Morty, The Spider-Verse, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, The Tomorrowverse, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and so much more.
Oh, everything. I loved that movie so much. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Loved it.
Good for Mr. Tatum finally becoming Gambit. Shame we're never getting 23rd Jump Street, though all while X-Men 97 did their Gambit well. Could understand why Luke wanted more. The movie just didn't seem an appropriately large scale in its multiversal angle by not having way more important characters crash the crisis. I would have preferred a 2D animation segment featuring some shadowy yet benevolent operative who may be a shape-changing veteran of other interdimensional events, like going undercover against the Bill Cipher and Crime Syndicate and the Syncope Symphony, plus keeping vigilant tabs on the spots, the Puella Magi. Oh, God. Wow, blah, blah, blah. And the Bedlam spirits. Look at them, ha ha, getting a tad frustrated on encountering one more omniversal crisis. Yeah, I don't think Marvel's ever going to go into the business of using characters that have appeared in other companies' properties. I mean, why would they share money with them when they could just use some of their own characters? They've got millions of them.
Oh, by the way, if they would have made a 21 Jump Street, I would have been
23 Jump Street.
Sorry, excuse me, 23 Jump Street. Totally would have been at the cinema watching it with like a huge popcorn and 2-gallon size soda, diet soda.
And yeah, the movie should have at least one gasping surprise of a DC Comics character as a nod to the Marvel DC crossovers, and maybe Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah, I think we just talked about that. They're not going to do that. They don't want to share money. Why would they? 34 minutes and 53 seconds depends. Time will tell if mercifully avoided something bad later on or not. For a topical aside, quite interested in your friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man. The idea of Peter Parker getting his origins from a roving Doctor Strange while he has Norman Osborn as his mission control is quite interesting. Also, the creator once being involved with the likes of Craig the Creek, the Owl House and Transformers Animated spices it up a little bit, it seems. 36:35, just time-stamping this. And so I did catch up on Cape Crusader and the podcasts. Great. 37 minutes, and said agent should be fiction fan service galore. Some would be planeswalking or raw types. Can you tell I'm struggling? With quite an assorted amount of magical knowledge, from kindly Ojamanjo magics to necessarily lethal blood-being Jedi gunslinger commandos who fight with Kyle Katarn, and non-lethals like Vash the Stampede and Chisad. Oh God, this name that I can't say. Chisato Nishikiyi. Clairvoyant. You're doing this to annoy me now, I'm certain. You're just laughing at my inability to say these exotic names. Clairvoyant ace pilots of almost any craft worth flying with experience akin to Marek Stell and the Free Space Alpha 1 Splinter Cell and Garrett-esque. This just sounds like what's that movie where they put all of the franchises together and it just looked bad? Ready Player One. That's what this sounds like. Michael, why don't you just watch Ready Player One over and over again? It's that one where they had like all the different franchises in some virtual reality world. Look, there's... Yeah, I didn't watch it because it looked terrible. But it's like, oh yeah, look, there's Ryu from Street Fighter standing next to... I was going to say Chun-Li, but Chun-Li is also from Street Fighter.
Did they have Sonic the Hedgehog in that?
They might have done. I didn't watch it, but it was just a mashup of all these different franchises, and it was just like what you call cameo porn, I guess. Just like, oh, I know who that is. I know who that is with no real substance. Well,
some people might love that movie.
Yeah, maybe they do, and more power to them. But Jesus Christ,
because some of us can actually say the correct names.
Yeah, I know, and some of us can't. I've lost my place in this comment now, so I'll just start from the next sentence. 39:10. Thank ye, Sai. Thank ye, Sai? Luke, same with James Tucker. 41:47. It's kind of like Yosemite Sam speak for damn. I don't dislike the X-Men. It's just I'm more of an Avengers guy in adulthood in contrast to my childhood. Either way, neither as wholesome and real as the Justice League. 42 minutes and 8 seconds. The best comic book adaptations have done well because they never stayed faithful with the comics, though. And I have to recommend Adventure Time, but I admit that the later stuff becomes quite harder to catch up. Oh, and seriously, the long-running Bubble Line arc is quite a gem of a romantic reconciliation tale. Don't think you mentioned Kitty Pryde in that Tolerance is Extinction podcast, Luke. That's right, I didn't mention every single person on the board, just a few that leapt out at me. Can sympathise a bit on Mary's partial apathy of Spider-Man. However, I'm still a fan of the Sam Raimi films, although the third film is better off with an editor's cut. The ongoing Spider-Verse animations and a bunch of video games nowadays stuck in licensing hell, like the Neversoft PS1 game. Can see why Dunst's MJ isn't a perennial fave, but really Zendaya's MJ felt off to me. She felt way too hipster. Think Pretty Boy Joker in a few ways, but that could be the nostalgia talking. Perhaps watching some guy named El Phoenix can make one feel more interested, if not nostalgic, on TIE Fighter. Speaking of the game, ever played its predecessor X-Wing? Yes, I have. And any of the sort of sequels, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter? Yes, played that as well. And X-Wing Alliance, didn't play that one. I like TIE Fighter more than all of them. Maybe it's just because all of the Empire's forces are English. Maybe it was just on like a fundamental level. I was like, yes, these are my people.
Well, I like you.
Thanks. Speaking of Carol Danvers, I'd rather see the return of her Earth's Mightiest Hero cartoon personality. 50 minutes and 2 seconds. Starfire? Anyways, I'm not fond of Star Anise as a spice.
Me neither.
I thought you were sharing some character's name again, so I got confused for a second. I was like, no, he's talking about the herb, spice.
It's like licorice, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I don't care for
aniseedy.
I don't care for that either. Or either. When did I start saying either? I usually say either. What is wrong with me? I'm watching too much TV.
50 minutes and 46 seconds. Katz Kobayashi from Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam for me when it comes to a Scrappy. Such a far cry from his younger self alongside Let's and Kika in the 1979 original. 53-58 Static Shock, if not Transformers Animated. Why Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1987 though? That's already done to death. See Turtles Forever and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012 crossover. I'd like to remind you, Michael, that was 12 years ago. Excuse you while we all turn to dust. And the Shredder's Revenge video game, especially at the expense of 2003. 55 minutes and 3 seconds. Don't worry, we're near the end now. I would prefer an original character, particularly the aforementioned multiversal shape-changing operative I mentioned. 56-16. We need more Rennie Montoya as the question in certain adaptations. Anyway, why not Psycho Pirate? Can I just interject and say I don't like Rennie Montoya as the question? I prefer Rennie Montoya to be herself rather than adopt someone else's identity. And I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, Mary.
I just like Renee Montoya. If she does something, I'll be a fan.
57 minutes and 3 seconds. Also in Arkham Knight, albeit off screen. Not that fond of the DCEU Superman, for he's many things wrong with how Supes is portrayed, even when compared with the negatives like the Injustice Games regime iteration. However, we'll partake in the upcoming podcast. That's very kind of you, Michael. Thank you once again
we love you, Michael.
for your long comment, and I apologise that I lost my place in that paragraph.
We always love you, Michael, and thank you so much. And I genuinely appreciate when you comment, because it really makes me laugh hearing Luke try to pronounce some of those names.
We have to take a break between recording the podcast and doing the comments so I can prepare myself to read out some of these lengthier.
See, what Luke could do is he could go on TikTok or YouTube and just see how the names were pronounced, but he just doesn't want to.
No, I don't care. All right, next comment. Lowell Lucas Jr. Yay, today is Totally Schway. Came together to celebrate my birthday. Hey, happy belated birthday. I apologise for the long message you're about to read below. And no, I'm not trying to compete with Mikey P because that dude's a master. You know what? It's not that long. Thank you all for such wonderful content on my special day. Also, Luke, I want to thank you for defending the changes for the Cape Crusader. Recently, I had a guy get completely negative against me for liking and enjoying the show. He was some random friend on Facebook who's trying to get a rise out of me, and no matter how hard I tried, I just told him you don't have to like the show. He ended up giving up, saying I'm so damn positive I gave him diabetes. Or
is that how I got diabetes?
No, I was just going to suggest that perhaps you're just not a reactionary man, baby.
Yeah. Lowell, you are cool, and it just seems like the other guy's a bit touchy.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when people get mad about these changes to the characters, you ask them, okay, why are you mad about it? This is bad because, and most of the time they can't actually answer it beyond saying just something, oh, you just shouldn't change the characters. Well, they've been changing the characters since they were created. Ever since they first appeared in the comic books, they've been changing them over and over and over again in all sorts of different mediums. Man, you must have hated Batman the Animated Series because they added all this stuff to characters like Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Clayface. But no, it's fine because that's what you grew up with, right? Anyway, doesn't matter. I could go on a massive rant about this.
Why you gotta play that song so loud?
Because I want to. Billie Piper reference there for anyone that's aware of who she is. Anyway, so to continue Lowell Lucas Jr.'s comment. Also, thanks to the trailers, I was well aware that Cassandra Nova was the big bad. I'm super glad they kept her creepy powers the same as the comics because she is one bad bleep word. Also, I will say this about the actress. I found her strangely attractive. And I'm like, I'm not supposed to like her, but damn, I love her performance.
Wasn't she Princess Di in The Crown? Or am I...
I don't know. She might have been.
I'm going to have to look this up now.
I'll continue with Lowell Lucas Jr.'s comment then. Deadpool's, it's Peter! Random fan, Peter Parker? Deadpool's, forget that loser, it's Peter! Yeah, we liked Peter. Okay, I am going to move on to David Carney's comment while Mary is still researching who played Cassandra Nova in Deadpool and Wolverine. So, hello, David Carney. It says, maybe I'm in the minority. I didn't think Green Lantern wasn't a bad film. I think you didn't think that Green Lantern was that bad of a film. I kind of agree. It was just average. I've seen worse films, Batman and Robin, for example. Whoever replaces Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in the MCU has big shoes to fill. Not a fan of Henry Cavill's Superman. Too depressing. For me, Tyler Hoechlin's Superman is the best. Great podcast. Yeah, we've not really watched much of Superman and Lois, because, I mean, we talked about this before, but we just kind of got a bit overwhelmed by all the CW shows and felt like there was just way too much to deal with.
Word.
Moving on to Captain Alce's comment. Hello, Captain.
Hey, Cap.
Who says, clear my throat. Wonderful timing. My fiancé and I just managed to see and he said Daredevil then, Deadpool and Wolverine 2 nights ago. We loved it. The Channing Tatum reveal was especially hilarious because I was overjoyed, but she can't stand him. His Cajun accent is excellent. It better be. He is actually Cajun. And the Elektra and Blade cameos blew my mind. I had Johnny Storm spoiled for me and was biting my tongue so hard waiting to see my fiancé's reaction. What a joy. And the movie did a version of my favourite Deadpool joke with nice pool. Deadpool and Deathwish, instant best friends. A match made in really weird parts of heaven. They did the whole regenerate punchline. But that's only a setup for yet another punchline. He's not even a Deadpool variant. Wade Wilson? Oh, I'm not that Wade Wilson. I'm Victor Von Doom. That's Wade Wilson. Immediately, a red-cloaked Dr. Doom comes stomping over with clear intent to commit violence. The whiplash of the scene is so intense, I bet even Deadpool's neck had trouble healing. That Ben Affleck idea would have been funny, but we got better than that because Wolverine is like Batman, but he can turn his neck. As hilarious as that would have been, I can't imagine Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery agreeing to anything like that. But for years I've wanted to see a crossover fighting game, DC versus Marvel. That would be so cool. Imagine some unlockable characters who are amalgam-style mashups, or concepts from both universes. It would be rad. Yes, let me play as Darkclaw, you cowards. You aren't the only one who liked Brie Larson as Carol Danvers. See? Thought so. I did. I thought she was fine, and I liked the character's admittedly bad attitude. She's surly and antisocial, and I think some people aren't used to that in female heroes.
Just think of this. She is going around the cosmos, and she is seeing all of these really bad things, and she's trying to fix them. I'd be in a pretty bad mood, too.
I don't know. Just a guess on my part, but I enjoyed the Marvels too. The post-credits in Shang-Chi were where she just bails on the conversation because she doesn't want to be there absolutely killed me. I have so much to catch up on. I'm steadily making my way through the Cape Crusader podcasts and will catch up on the X-Men ones. Also, once I finish watching the show, it's high on my list. Time is just hard to come by.
Exactly.
I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on Cavill as the Big Blue Boy Scout. There's a lot of baggage surrounding his casting that film, the whole universe, his general business sense. It's a lot. And it's a shame because he's clearly well regarded inside the industry and as well as by audiences. Well, let's end on a fun note. What Marvel DC mashup would you want to see in a story or a video game? I would say a combination of Daredevil and Batman would be perfect. Dead parents, Creatures of Darkness, the Catholic Guilt, Daredevil is even blind as a bat. Perhaps Bane's Venom steroid made from the Venom symbiote. Magic of the X-Men meets Raven from Teen Titans? Well, go on, Mary.
I have one. Magneto becomes best friends with Alfred. What a great friendship that would be.
Yes. So I like the amalgam stuff they did in the 90s, like crossing Wolverine with Batman to make Darkclaw and Lobo with Howard the Duck to make Lobo the Duck.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I've got them all here somewhere. I think perhaps a less inspired one was the Captain America and Superman mashup, Super Soldier. I was just like, yeah, okay, fine. Spider-Boy was kind of cool, though. But if we're talking something brand new, let's cross over...
Oh, we're doing crossovers.
No, like merging them together.
Merging them together. I don't want to merge them together because I just want to see awesome conversations. But if I had to, I would probably say Nightcrawler, Superman.
Interesting. In the amalgam stuff, they merged him with the Creeper and he became the Night Creeper. Making him sound even worse.
like we're going to see him on some true crime special on Netflix.
Yeah.
A 6-part series.
I thought of the perfect mashup. Man-Thing and Swamp-Thing.
Swamp Man.
No, you could call him Man-Thing or Swamp-Thing.
I'm just about as excited as I am as you were about my friendship dreams of Magneto and
I thought
Alfred.
It was funny because it's the same name anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Blue Knight Beyond. Hello, Blue Knight Beyond, how you doing?
Hi.
I never watched the Marvel Fox movies after watching Daredevil and Wolverine, so I had no idea what had happened. The only knowledge I had was Logan had died and some random Marvel facts I've heard over the years. With that said, I did burst out laughing at some of the jokes in the movie and love the Henry Cavill cameo. The scene where Deadpool pulls the camera away and says, "Suck it, Fox," also comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Love the scene with Deadpool and Wolverine fighting the Deadpool variant with the song Like a Prayer Battle Royale mix playing in the background. I have downloaded the song on my phone. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie, and I feel like comic book movies are going to get better in the future. Big smiley face.
Have you seen, because I occasionally NSYNC comes up on my DJ Spotify thing, have you seen that NSYNC has changed the name from just being Bye Bye Bye, I think that's which one it is, to Bye 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 from original motion picture soundtrack Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Yeah.
Love that.
All right. Final comment then. This is from Harry Flew TV, who says... Hello, Harry, by the way. This MCU movie is right up there with Spider-Man No Way Home and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, in my opinion. Though I think I rank Guardians 3 and No Way... Though I think I rank Guardians 3, Alice No Way Home, I assume that's a typo, and No Way Home above Deadpool and Wolverine, but they're all great, to be honest. Yep, enjoyed most of those movies. Even all of these, Marvel movies that people go, "Oh, it's trash." Like, Eternals or...
I liked Eternals.
Or Miss Marvel or the Marvels. I've enjoyed them. They've got things that are, things that are enjoyable about them. They are decent films. I often say this, but, if the sum of your criticism of a movie is using words like, "Oh, trash and garbage," that says more about you than it does the thing you are criticizing. Similarly, boring. Boring is like the least descriptive adjective in the world. You could say that you found, I found the plot points unsurprising. It was repetitive, unambitious. You could say things like that. They all basically mean the same. Certain things that build up to something being considered boring, right? But if you just go, "Oh, it's boring," it's like the worst criticism you can provide of anything. It's so nondescript and just says that you didn't find it particularly interesting without actually saying why.
I feel so seen. I feel very seen right now.
Well, because you're always going, "I don't want to watch that. That's boring."
I don't say stuff like that. I just say I don't want to watch that right now.
And I'm asking why you said you felt seen.
Because I describe certain things in my life as boring, but I don't... The thing about that is, it's different for me when people say, "Oh my God, that's so boring," because I say my life is boring, but I don't put that in a negative way. I say it as it's not dramatic, it's not fierce, it's kind of boring. Mm-hmm. But I don't say that about a ton of movies because I find what I do say is that it's just not my thing. because it's true. It's not that it's a bad movie or that I hated it. It just wasn't my thing. Because there are people that will love it. I mean, I'm not sure about the Keith Lemon movie, but
that is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Yeah.
But yeah, but I do feel seen because I use boring all the time, but in a different way.
Yeah, well, that's not quite what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying never use the word boring, but I'm saying if you're using boring to describe a product, then that kind of talks more about you as a person rather than the thing you are describing.
My mom used to ask us about different words and stuff when I was younger. And I guess because of that, although I've lost a lot of my descriptive words, I do use a lot of different words for things because it's not that I want to sound smart, because I'm not. It's just I don't think words are all fair, and some words are better. So instead of saying boring, I would say, oh, that is just not as visually appealing to me as
uninspiring.
Yeah, as something, say, as Last Tango in Paris.
You'd say, I found it predictable and felt that there were missed opportunities.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
But again, it's not saying that it's terrible. It's just saying it's not for you.
I know, we've just gone on like a 2-minute rant here, sorry. All right, let's wrap it up there because we've gone over an hour and I know how much people dislike it when we do that. So, Mary, what are we going to talk about in the next episode?
Matt Reeves' The Batman.
Okay, cool.
And why I think they took one of my favorite songs and made it too popular.
Yes. How do you think Kurt Cobain would have felt having one of his songs attached to a superhero movie? I think he might have thought it was cool.
Well, Batman, yes.
We'll talk more about this next time.
Oh, I thank you guys so much for subscribing to my channel and watching my videos, because I've got nearly 500 subscribers now, and I cannot believe that. That's 500 human beings that have clicked on something and took time to do that. And thank you so much. And it's so absolutely mind-blowing to me. I love you guys so much, and thank you. And especially to the people that have kept coming back and watching and commenting and stuff. Like, you guys are really awesome, and I really think of you guys as friends. So thank you. Bye.